Hello and welcome to the 8th episode of the Great British Design Podcast. Hello and welcome back to the 8th episode of the Great British Design Podcast. I am Andy, and I'm here with Nick and Harry.
Hello.
And today we're going to be talking about career paths, possible career paths from a product design degree. That's our main topic, but before then, we'll do our usual, what have we been up to this week in our personal projects, or just life? How have you been? How's life? Someone?
Harry, you go.
Well, like the rest of the world, it all seems to be very similar to last week, and so is my work. I just been working on the 3D printer project. It's pretty much all modelled, but I need to get a list of all the parts I need to buy, which is very tedious. But I need to do it by the time I get paid next month, or the end of this month. So yeah, that's all I'm doing. That's all I've really done. I'm going to be doing that for the rest of this week, so expect to hear that next week as well.
Oh, exciting.
That's pretty much it. Like, yeah, I didn't really do a massive amount else in terms of design, really. Just sort of getting on with stuff. Trying
Sounds
to
good,
motivate
yeah.
myself.
You sound a little demotivated right now.
Oh, I am so demotivated.
Join the club.
It's not...
Join the club.
Like, if I'm honest, these projects in my own time are what are motivating me. Work at the moment is so long. The work hours, I'm sure they've doubled. I don't really know, but it feels like that anyway.
I feel the same because there's nothing to look forward to. You know, there isn't like a holiday coming up in a couple of months, or like a meet up at the weekend, or even just going out at the weekend, just doing anything, going out for dinner or something. There's nothing to look forward to. So it's just like, it's just work, and then you wait to go to work again.
Yeah.
Sleep, wake up, work.
It's just like the whole clock slowed down, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Not a lot we can do about it for now, but hopefully not too much longer. Hopefully.
What about you, Nick?
I mean, we can actually start planning a meetup soon, so that would be
nice.
some things to look forward to.
Maybe we
if
have an
things go
in-person
according to plan.
version of the podcast.
Damn.
That would be the plan
So-
when we meet up. Yeah, that's going to be good. Really
That
good.
would be nice.
Sounds
I
good to
mean,
me.
I'll tell you what hasn't been done this week. It's the Desk Organizer weekly project. It's no longer a weekly project. It's now been ongoing for a month. And,
It's evolved.
Yeah, it's. I have done some research though. Like I've done some accidentally.
Of what needs to go in a desk organizer, or
I'm
what?
sure.
No, I've just like some really cool 3D printed ones that already exist, and I was like, oh wow, that's a really good idea. I have some really nice ones.
I'm
And,
sure
there's
when
this-
you originally pitched this idea to us that you're doing this project and it was going to take a week, you're like, it's a really simple little project. And now you have to research and everything.
Research it. What's going on?
Well, like I wasn't planning on researching it. I was looking at things to 3D print, and then I saw a really, really nice one with this bracket that you put on a wall, and it was just designed really well. I was like, that's nice. And there was a website you could buy it for £2. And
So instead, you're going to use more of your time and
no,
make it for more money.
but it was just like interesting. So I was like, okay, like technically I've done some research by accident, and then it went down the rabbit hole of, oh, let's see what other 3D printed desk organizer projects are online already, and it kind of went from there. But
That is a rabbit hole, to be fair.
yeah,
Just scrolling through. Oh, someone did this with a 3D printer? Crazy.
This is cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Question is though, is there a place to lock away your phone in their designs?
I don't
'Cause
think
that was
there
your
is.
key
That's
element,
one
that
thing
was.
I didn't. Yeah, and I'm still gonna pursue that route because I do get distracted from my phone. So if I can just hide my phone away, that's kind of. I think that's going to be like the main feature. There's storage, sure, but it's going to lock your phone away. So that's kind of the idea. My back is healed. I went for a run today. First run in 2 weeks.
Congrats.
was good. Oh no, it was nice. Nice to get outside actually.
Yeah.
Go for a run, and it was a terrible run. I stopped like 3 times. So I used to be able to do it in one, and I say used to. 2 weeks ago, I could do it in one.
2
and
weeks
now
ago,
I did it
me.
in 3.
Nah, your next run though will be a lot close to where you were 2 weeks ago. The first
Yeah,
run
I
back
think
is
so.
always terrible, and then you'll be like,
Running's
you're
hard.
you're loosened up a bit next run, hopefully.
Yeah, I think so. And I'm on the diet hype now. I'm trying to
Diet?
lose weight. Yeah, because I've been trying to fit into some of my shirts that I wore like a year ago, and the buttons are pulling. You know, there's some
Ooh.
stress, there's some strain on those buttons. You know,
Okay.
so I
Is
need
that from all
to.
your chest workouts, or is that...
It's from all the mouth workouts.
The
I've been
stomach
doing this
workouts,
year. Yeah.
reps of
Um,
crisps?
Yeah, and I've gone up a waist size. It's not
Ooh.
ideal. I've been in denial for the past like year that I still fit into a 30, and I've gone to 32s now. You know, cry me a river, but it's so sad, right? And I mean,
32s. I feel like I'm a 32.
yeah, but I've always been 30.
Damn.
That's the thing. It's still getting up a size, isn't it? And
Yeah,
I mean, I've done some portfolio work, and that's kind of been about it.
I'm a 32 with a belt.
Yeah. Oh,
I think it's
So
more I
you're
get a
30
32.
Just got you
You could
there.
squeeze in a 30.
I think I'm a 31 technically.
What have you been doing, Andy?
I like that. So I've been very unmotivated this week, unbelievably so. Lockdown, the 3rd month is hitting bad. There's been lacks of exercise, lack of doing general work. I've done a couple of sketches just for myself, but that doesn't really count. I have started a 3D model for the most random little invention that I want to make. You might get a file, Harry, that you're going to print for me. I don't know whether to say because I've not finished it yet. Would you like to know what it is?
I would love to know what it is.
I'd like to know. Yeah,
Okay, so
I'm ready.
you're both.
Wait, do you need a patent for it or not? Is it this serious?
I don't know. You could definitely find it in your local Mankind store
Oh, right, okay.
Oh, okay.
or any others. You know, any others similar. So
Okay, hit me.
you're both tea drinkers, right?
Mm.
I am indeed a tea
How
big
do
time.
you put your tea in your mug? Do you stand a few feet away and throw it in?
Every time.
Okay.
I'm a throw boy.
Then
Yeah.
this is the product for you, right?
Oh,
So it started off that I thought I'm missing playing basketball because I like a bit of basketball.
Oh, no,
So,
I
so,
can
I
so,
like this product
so I
already.
thought you could just have something that's like a coaster's shape, right? And then it's just a basketball hoop that goes
Like a
on
backboard.
the back. Yeah,
Right.
just a backboard with a hoop that you throw your tea bags in. Or something that clips on the mug, or something like that. And I was thinking this would be a solid idea, right? But wait. Then next level up.
there's more.
Next level up. So imagine like the coaster shape, right? A circle with the backboard up and everything, and then imagine a kind of lever seesaw mechanism, right?
Okay.
So
Okay.
you've got like the base, and then you've got the seesaw thing, and then you put your mug on, and as you put your mug on, it flips up the tea bag, goes in the hoop,
Oh,
goes in the cup. What do you reckon?
God's sake.
The
I
model's
love
been
it.
started. I mean, you can
Yeah,
also you can just throw it in if you're just old school, where you
if
throw
you
it
want to
in.
just throw it in, you can.
You
I-
can
if you
nothing
If
nothing
you want
against
to put
that.
it in style, you
But
can.
if you just want to school somebody, bam, teabag in.
Okay. I
like
want
it.
to see this working.
Thing is
That's what I
though,
want.
this is the problem with every project that I ever do. I think of something really simple, like like you're thinking, Nick, with your desk organizer. You think something simple, but you just try and you're like, oh, but what if it did this? But what if it did that? But what if it did this?
Yeah.
Like, this is going to be really hard to make it actually flip in the mug, but doesn't it make it 10 times cooler?
Yes.
Yes.
I think you'll need something other than just a seesaw. It's gonna have to be an actual proper mechanism.
Oh crap!
Yeah, because it's probably, if you just have a seesaw,
Otherwise-
it's going to flip it anywhere, isn't it, I guess?
Or if you put it down gently, it will just sort of like go "Ugh," and be limp.
Yeah.
Oh, I
So,
guess it is
you
going to
could-
need some
I'm
kind of
excited
spring.
for this, mate. I'm excited for this.
But it could be pretty cool, right?
It
It's
will
a good
be.
start.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like it, yeah.
I don't know. I just
You can, like,
thinking
legit
random
sell
stuff.
it to mankind.
Yeah,
you know,
like it's a mankind product, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
You-
yeah.
You've seen that guy, the unnecessary inventions guy. Have you seen?
I have, yeah.
You know, he makes
don't think
some
I have.
random stuff.
Yeah.
He makes some.
Has he
random
made this
stuff.
though? I
don't know.
I googled
I'm
it.
not sure.
Doesn't exist.
Well, you
There
might
you
need
go.
to cut this all out.
I know,
Yeah,
right?
no.
But then
Maybe
I've
we'll just
done.
bleep
But
it
then I've
out.
done nothing this
Bleep-
week.
Bleep the 5 minutes out. Beep.
Yeah. Well,
So, yeah,
careful, our
some-
four listeners might steal the idea. Be careful.
Well,
mate,
there's
be
3 of them here.
Yeah.
careful. True.
Writing that down. The thing is, like, you don't just put a tea bag in the mug. You've got to throw it in.
You've got to throw it in.
Unless you haven't
You've
earned
got to
it.
beat your previous best. That's the
Yeah,
only
of
way.
course. And also, I like line mine up underneath the cupboard where you put your plates away and stuff. So then you got a backboard, but it's like a high up backboard, so it's pretty difficult.
Ooh.
And it doesn't go in until you shout Kobe, and then it goes straight in.
Yeah. That just activate the teabag homing mechanism.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like a magnet then.
Maybe
Kobe.
try to have loose tea. That's the challenge.
Wow. That's V2. We've not even started on V1 yet. So you like the idea?
Yeah, that's
I like
a fun
it.
project.
I'm glad you're both people that throw in tea bags.
I feel like
Otherwise,
that's
I
the
would look
thing.
like a fool.
You've got to have a project which is fun, right? If it's just going to be funny and silly, you're going to enjoy making it more, aren't you?
Just imagine taking that to a job interview somewhere and just being like, "Do you want to
Look
see
what
what
I
I
did."
make in my free time?" Would you like a
You could just
cup
like
of tea?
sales
Well,
pitch.
I'm glad you asked.
But I'm not actually here for a job interview. How do you put your tea bag in the mug?
I wasn't
Just a
actually going
sales
for the
pitch.
retail. I wasn't actually going for the retail position at Mankind.
They're just like sold,
Yeah.
sold.
Name your price. Oh dear. Well, that's
I'm
what I've been up
excited
to
see
this
that.
week.
Brilliant.
Oh,
Excited
good.
to see
I've
how you
started off
do that.
my model of it, but now you're saying it. Yeah, it might need to be a bit more complex than I was originally thinking. Because I was
Mechanisms,
thinking
let's
of
go.
the seesaw thing. Because yeah, you'd have to hit down the mug at the same speed every time, the same force. But maybe that's part of the skill.
Oh,
But I think if you're doing a whole thing that is to flick it in every time, you kind of want it to be
Yeah,
no matter
maybe.
how you put the cup
click in
down.
the direction at least, I guess.
Maybe you put the cup down and you press a button and it flings it in.
True, you could definitely have that. So then it's just
Little button.
a little button. Pew! The noise is still work in progress.
Yeah. Workshop.
Like those
that
little
one.
blasters when you're a kid, when you like. Pew, pew.
Yeah, so I want to see this by
Okay.
next week. Yeah.
Oh, you've got a
Not-
customer.
not
You've
by
got
next
2
week.
customers.
Not by next week. Yeah, I'd say 3.
Yeah, don't commit to a week project.
No way. But this is something that I'm actually, because I had my other ideas and stuff, and I kind of think about them, and I'm like, yeah, this is cool, but I never start any of them because I'm like, it's not really that cool. But this one, it speaks to me on a personal level.
Yeah, that's good. That's one of those things that I sort of regret saying about the 3D printer project on here because now I have to finish it, or I'll be talking about this for years on it. So,
What have you been doing this week?
well,
The bloody 3D printer.
Nick's
I
not
don't
slept
want
the whole
this-
week because of his desk
Still be doing the
organizer.
desk organizer.
yeah. I mean, I'll get it done. I just don't want it to be a year-long project.
Yeah,
It was
but it is a-
ideally
it
like
is a
a
big boy
2-month or 3-month project. Get a couple of them in the year. That'll be good for my portfolio. Hopefully.
That'd be
Glorious.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. See if it works first. It's all well and good if I'm designing it for 4 months, but what if it doesn't
Yeah.
work after designing
No,
it
it's
for 4 months?
just a box.
Yeah.
It was great.
Oh well, we'll see.
So, should we go on to our main topic for today?
Please,
So the
take
main
us there, Andy.
main topic for today is career paths from a product design degree. Now, we all did slightly different product design degrees. Mine was computer aided product design, and yours was you're both.
Product design and innovation.
Try again. It was only 3
Nick,
years of your life.
Nick got it right. It was product design and innovation. God, my bad, team.
So I guess we can go on to say what we've first gone on to from the degree. I could start if you guys want.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I mentioned this on like episode 1 or 2. I think it was episode 1. But my job now is in logistics, a project engineer, and that was one lecture of our one hour lecture of our entire uni experience in the 3 years. A 1 hour lecture dedicated to what I do. Oh, I didn't pay attention. So
what were you doing in that lesson, Andy?
I don't know. I think there might have been some collectible card game being played in the background. A bit of Freeze Mage. But it didn't really matter because everything I've learned on the job anyway. It didn't really make any difference. The key skills were there anyway. Like the 2D CAD, AutoCAD is the main thing that I do that I've taken away from uni, and Excel spreadsheets, obviously. That one unit that everyone hated, that, we did like 3 months to make 2 Excel spreadsheets. I'd probably whack them out in an afternoon now, but
Yeah.
But those are the two, say, resources that I now use from my degree. And everything else is just the problem solving that comes from it, just the general how you work and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think it's a point that you said, like, you learn on the job anyway. Your first job, they're pretty much hiring you on the basis that they'll teach you that they'll train you up to work how they work anyway.
Exactly.
That's why companies get graduate students, is so you're being trained to work exactly how the company wants you to work. You're a fresh canvas for them to mold effectively. So I think that's a fair point for any job. If anyone's applying to a job, you might think, this isn't entirely relevant from my degree, slightly off it. It's really not a problem. If you're like generally aware of what they do or whatever it is, you'll be fine to pick up the skills with it.
Also, a lot of jobs just like a degree anyway. It just shows that you were dedicated to getting.
It shows
one.
You can work. Yeah.
Because
put the hours in.
Yeah, like they'll just have the work ethic, and again, something like problem solving, just core skills basically.
Yeah, it's mainly about how you think and how you tackle problems, right? I think people get hung up on the software too much. Whereas, you can learn a software pretty quickly if you need to, can't you?
Yeah.
It's just the knowledge and the mindset and how you solve problems, right? I think that's kind of probably the main thing across most jobs. You always have problems you need to solve, right? So,
I think something about software which really does annoy me is when you say, like, for example, we used Creo at university, and then if you're applying for something which uses something else, and they question whether you can use this, that's really annoyed me in like the past when it's been SolidWorks, and they were like, "Have you ever used SolidWorks?" I was like, "Yeah, I used SolidWorks for my A levels." They were like, "Oh, what version did you use?" So obviously I had to be like, "Oh, I used like 2011 or something," because that's what it was. And they were like, "Oh, they use SolidWorks 2018 here."
Yeah.
So different.
So maybe they can move the buttons to the other side, but
for my job, I said in the phone interview that I was fine with SolidWorks, and I hadn't ever used it before. And then there was an exam in the face-to-face interview where they're like, right, model this, and this, and I'm gonna sit here watching you. It was fine. It was fine.
Was that when you had to model a bracket or something? Wasn't it?
Yeah, I had to model a bracket and do 2 technical drawings based on it. That was like the first half of the interview, and I was like, I hadn't even seen what SolidWorks looked like, but it was fine. It was just one of those things that, like, that, and this is why, and like you're saying, it annoys you when you have people saying, "Well, you haven't used the software." You're like, "No, but I've used like 2 or 3 other 3D modeling softwares. They all work the same way. You all do a sketch, and then you extrude it or you cut with that sketch, and you might revolve it instead. But all the same tools are there. They're all the same. It's just a matter of finding the button or the actual wording, or sometimes like Fusion 360, things are done in slightly different orders. Like to do a certain process or set of features, you have to click things in different orders. But it always says at the bottom of the screen anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, please select the plane you're looking to.
Exactly.
To
Yeah.
stuff. So all the information's there if you're willing to like look for it and stuff. So that's another thing that you shouldn't really worry about. It's things like that. All these softwares are all very similar. All the image editing softwares are very similar. All the softwares like Photoshop all work like Photoshop. Like, it's just the way they are. And like, because if you're designing software to work in a different way, then no one's gonna use it. So that's why they all work very similar. It's just slightly different. I don't know. Like, they look different.
I don't know. There was one job that I applied for. I can't remember what software it was using. It was some 3D modeling thing, and it looked like something straight out of 1995. It was like, it was absolutely ridiculous. You say about all my grey applications that I've got. It was awful.
But in that software's defense, they probably have a new version now, an updated version, because all of these all of them look really old a while ago. Like, because we used Creo 2, or was it Creo 1? The
we
first
started
Creo
at
we
2.
used.
Yeah, it changed, didn't it? Yeah.
Before Creo 1, it was Pro Engineer, and that looked like it was from the 70s. Not that there was any softwares like that in the 70s, but it was like as pixelated as anything. And it all looked like the 2D CAD softwares, like, but they seem to be pretty dated still in terms of the actual UI and how it all looks. But they all look pretty similar now. They all look very Apple-y and clean. So
we like that.
Can't go wrong.
Clean user interface. That's mental.
Nick, did you want to say what you do?
Yeah, well, again, I think we have kind of covered it already, but
we have,
many episodes ago. But I went into lighting. I say lighting. We did like LED light strips, and then we went into designing these kind of accessories to go on top of them, and that was mainly like Adobe package. And then I went into heating. So again, like, it's more of just how you tackle problems, right? It's the product varies. Obviously, you do have to learn the industry or learn the product, but how you design and develop a product is kind of the same, right?
Yep, process is all very similar, no matter what you're doing.
Yeah. So I mean, and my job roles have been product design in the lighting one, and then in the second job, I was a design engineer. So which I feel like even as a design engineer, we still had to consider everything that you would do as what quote unquote industrial designer, right? We still had to do everything, but then we also had to do 2D drawings and some analysis and things like that. So it's kind of like you had to do all plus more, I guess.
The design engineer role sits sort of in the middle of pure product design and pure mechanical engineering. Yeah, it is just a bit of both. Basically.
The roles I apply for.
Yeah, exactly. But I think a lot of small companies, which is the same for mine, they hire a lot of design engineers because a design engineer, especially one that's come from a product design background, can do the design stuff, and it can also do a lot of the engineering stuff, or at least the top level engineering stuff.
Yeah,
Maybe not to the level of some mechanical engineers, but
yeah, absolutely.
it's a good middle ground for a company to be able to hire someone that can actually get a product to manufacture without having to hire two people to do one job.
Yeah.
So that is one good upside of what we've done. And I guess that leads on to what I do, because I did the same university course as UNIC, which was more pure product design, but then I did a master's in design engineering. So it was just basically, to be honest, my design engineering master's was closer to mechanical engineering, or like my friends who did mechanical engineering at uni, than it was close to product design. So it was probably the same sort of level of technicality as regular mechanical engineering degree, but it was at a master's level, if you see what I mean. So
yeah,
it was just,
sure.
It was like it was basically like our jobs, or you in the heating, and my job now, it was the more technical side of actually doing a product, whereas I feel like the master's equivalent of doing mechanical engineering, they were doing like not retail products, so they'll be doing a lot of the designing stuff of big machining equipment, or
floating islands in the sky,
doing absolutely insane scale projects, which are all just simulations and stuff like that. So that's sort of where it is. I feel there's a lot of people who did mechanical engineering. So a lot of my course mates on the design engineering masters were from mechanical engineering, and they came across because they realised most mechanical engineering roles involves a lot of just technical drawings or simulations, and so then they've come over to the more design side of everything, and because they enjoy the designing an actual product that someone might use, the retail side of stuff, but doing the technical side of that, and that's sort of where the design engineering fits. It's in my biased opinion, the more fun side of designing or engineering a product. But that's what I do. I work at a small company designing interactive kiosks in the signage industry. So that's all we do. There's two of us in the department, and we're both mechanical design engineers. So we just design the full physical aspect of the product to come up from concept to manufacture. So that's pretty much the definition of design engineering as well. So it's
and I guess you kind of look at the degree and the coursework we did in terms of like the design process and things like that. You still do exactly the same things as a design engineer, whereas you still do the sketching, you still do the you still ideate, you still come up with ideas, you still have to consider branding and kind of aspects of the actual company culture and things like that. So it's weird. It's almost like I do feel like the American industrial design might be different to what we call it in the UK. Maybe I'm wrong on that, I'm not sure, but
I think it probably is slightly more closer to art sort of side of it in America. Not taking anything away from it, it's just that's sort of what they're asking industrial designers to do there, whereas an industrial designer in England is more or less, feels like all the roles I've seen, they're more or less asking you to be a design engineer. It just depends how much weight you have in the engineering side of it, but you'll be doing all that stuff.
Yeah, I'd say it's like they have a role called 3D digital artist, and I'd say that's probably what we see as the American industrial designers.
Yes, I think so as well.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
that is something that when you're looking at product design courses in England, a lot of them, like our one for example, was product design, even product design and innovation, the less technical of the two on our undergrad course. That was still a Bachelor of Science, not a Bachelor of Art. And there's a lot of just product design courses that share very similar units, but not quite the same, that are Bachelor of Arts. They won't have the same maths exams as we had and stuff like that. So if you were to actually ask me, I would probably say our uni course isn't entirely accurate, as I do feel, and I've always said this, it was closer to design engineering, because we had material science, we had the technical side of it, we did simulations and everything, whereas some of my friends who did Bachelor of Arts product design, which is probably closer to that industrial design or 3D graphics are, or graphic modeling, or whatever you call it.
That's
Andy.
the problem. There's so many different names.
That's it. They really should standardize it all a bit more. But I definitely feel like that's one way you can sort of separate them. And I know people ask me this when I was applying to jobs: is like, is it a Bachelor of Science or is it a Bachelor of Arts? Because that does sort of tell you sort of the level of technicality you might have. Obviously, there's some very, very good people who did Bachelor of Arts, but it's less likely that their course had the maths or more technical aspects. But I mean, I'm sure some do. This is the problem, though. There doesn't seem to be any sort of coherency between the courses and what subjects they're on and anything like that. But it's what companies use to separate them, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, when I looked into a industrial design masters in the UK, but it was in arts, the main difference I found was, I guess, the techniques they use of like critical thinking, that they had design thinking, quote unquote design thinking, as kind of like a design exercise where you do workshops and things like that. And then there's things like user-centric design, and like, again, most of these seem to be kind of like workshop focused. So it's kind of like techniques you can use in a team to kind of think through problems in like a methodical but quite like ambiguous way almost. You don't have like a clear goal, but you
that was very much missing from our course, wasn't it? We didn't have anything really similar to that. Ours were more or less like, think of the problem and you solve it. Do you know what I mean? There wasn't any of this like, what other ways can you solve it? Which is what that sort of it feels like. But that is, I mean, in my job right now, there's not really a lot of that at all. It's sort of like, we're given a very tight brief. We want an interactive kiosk to look like this and have these components. There's no space for that sort of workshopping, breaking down what's
be
possible.
very brief.
You'd be like, like these are all the components. I see. Yeah. So, but there's definitely some design roles that would be a skill that I'd need to work on. Even though I came from a product design course and everything, that it wasn't even a consideration.
I think I've been very interested in that kind of side of design for a few years now. Like, I've been reading this book called Design Sprint a few times. I've read through it once, and slowly kind of going through it again and highlighting it. And it's kind of a process that I'd like to learn, because I'd like to offer it in the future, ideally. It's quite a cool, I guess it's kind of like you work with a company and you dedicate like a week block with them, and then you work through kind of everything in like a week of workshopping. And it's kind of got like a defined process of each kind of step. And the idea is that you would end up creating like a very early prototype, but which kind of answers your problem without spending too much money or without spending too much time. Like, if you can solve the problem in a week and realize that, okay, this isn't going to work for us, and we found that out in a week, now we can focus on other things, kind of thing. So it's really interesting. Yeah, I mean, not necessarily a week. Sometimes it can be like, it can be a bit longer, but
it's efficient, not just time wise though, because you could do that and get a rough prototype in a short amount of time, but also a short amount of money, rather than developing something and then like get into like the pre-production prototype and be like, oh, this doesn't work at all. Like, and I think like, it seems really nice.
Yeah, I feel like it's used a lot more in kind of user and UI UX, but there's still loads of like designers that implement this same process. You just kind of tweak it. Obviously, instead of it being a digital product, it's a physical product. So you might make some like mock-ups and maybe like reenact you. So it's for a kiosk. Maybe you'd make up from some mock-ups and kind of act like you're going to use it in a way of this new kind of, oh, this isn't going to work. This is a bit odd, and that kind of approach is quite interesting.
Yeah, that is something I really wish I had. My company, we don't even do a prototype of any sort. We have to get it right first time. We do not set aside any budget for prototypes at all.
Oh, that's rough, man. That's rough. I felt like in my last job it was like a minimum of at least 2 prototypes for like a new project.
Thing of dreams, that.
That was quite.
So,
I did this.
That's a lot of pressure.
The project I had before
Yeah, there's
Christmas.
a lot of pressure.
It was a massive, and they called the first. I don't know how to say this. So it was going to be installed in many sites across the UK, but we started at one site, and it was 6 units. Was the first order, and if it didn't go well, they would cancel the order for the 60 other sites.
Oh man, that's
so
scary.
it was like, we get this right, or we've messed
Company
this whole
goes
thing
bust.
up. It was it went
Oh
well.
man, that's living on the
And
edge.
So how many
And it is
how many
so far
people
so good.
check your designs as well?
Just one. It's just I do it.
That's amazing.
So okay,
You guys need a
my-
pay rise, I think.
Oh no.
Right.
But my boss doesn't check everything I do. So what will often happen is I do the whole thing. I might ask his opinion on certain bits, like particularly complicated sections. Then we might be like, do you think this will work? Have you done something similar to this? Like, for example, we use a lot of hooking a screen on and then fixing it with one screw or whatever. And depending on the size of the screen, you might want to change the method of doing that, or those sort of little things. I'll ask him those sort of questions. I do all the technical drawings, then we send it off for quoting. Our metalworkers are quite good, actually. We've got a really good relationship with them, so sometimes they might point out any slight hiccups in the drawings or something. They'll send back the quotes. As long as the price is all good, I'll do one final check of all the drawings, and then we order it. So my boss doesn't actively look at everything I do now. So
Yeah,
it's
I found that
a bit rough.
So yeah, not
the
even a
check
second.
to buy box in the 2D drawings were always empty in my last job. No,
Well,
one
no.
checked them.
Mine's always full.
Yeah.
It's on the template. It's approved by my boss.
it's
on
already
the
approved.
template.
So
That's
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. So, but
Oh, dear.
in my 2 years, we haven't had any parts that were so wrong that we couldn't bodge it. So it's all been good so far.
yeah.
It's often you've missed a press nut and you just have to put a nut in or file it a bit. But you file it a bit, you paint it white, and it's fine.
You didn't even notice.
But the clients don't, that's for
Oh
sure.
dear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's something as
think,
well. A small company, sometimes you just don't have that luxury
Just
of
bodge
doing
it.
that sort of more pure design stuff of workshopping and prototyping and stuff like that. We don't do that. That's my company. There's literally 11 of us that work there.
Yeah.
Two designers. It's tiny, so it's a different world to some companies
Yeah,
where
so
you'll have a massive company or a company that's big enough to bring in external designers and be like, look, we're doing this. That's a whole different environment where those skills are so that would be used. Whereas at my company,
Yeah.
it's not even spoken about.
Yeah, it's not a workshop with 2 people, is it?
No,
That's just a
really well
casual
like
chat
I mean,
that. Yeah.
with a coffee.
I suppose you can do it with startups, and usually startups are quite small.
They'd normally bring someone in
It
there,
would
right?
reflect. Yeah.
It's like external
I mean,
people come in normally and stuff like that.
Yeah, but I think in terms of other design paths for my final year project, obviously I did that smart alarm clock, and I know my UI and all that was terrible, but that is still something that you can kind of go down. If I'd kind of a bit more research on how you actually present UI, then I could have actually done a better job of that.
That's user experience, right?
Yeah,
that would be classed user experience design, which is probably one of the hottest design jobs at the moment. If you look in London,
it's
most
user
of them are
interface, and it's kind of, it used to be UI and UX is 2 separate, but now you're kind of expected
together.
to have
everything's
both
digital,
skills, right?
or at least turning digital now. So yeah.
And
That is
I
something that have
also
looked
feel
at. Oh, carry on.
it's quite interesting. It used to be very code heavy UX, you had to know code, and nowadays there's a lot of really good prototyping tools, especially on Adobe. I forget the exact name of it, but there's loads of tools where you can create these really great user experiences of kind of like, here's the landing page, it goes to this is what happens, and you can kind of make really good mock-ups of these pages without knowing any code. And then obviously you still need someone to code it, but to be a UI or UX designer, you used to have to know code. Now you don't so much.
It's nice now. I think it's a lot better having, because it was almost combining two like very serious jobs together. Whereas now you get the designer entirely focusing on how someone would interact with it, and then you have someone who just loves programming websites, being like, this is the best way to make this like be like efficient, like not be too laggy or whatever. It just makes so much more sense to do it that way, but it's so much nicer for the designer, and it opens up that role to so many more people. Because I think if you're like, right, we need like basically a graphic designer or at least a user interface designer who knows how to code, there's probably like 5% of the designers could do that, if you know what I mean. Whereas now a lot of designers could do that, which is really nice. It opens up the role for so many more people.
Definitely. And I do feel like if we wanted to, I mean, I guess anything you want to go into, you'd have to do your research, you'd have to learn it, right? But I'm saying that like our degree and the skill set you get from doing product design, I do think translates really heavily into kind of graphic design, UI, UX. Because like if you think of even making a logo, for example, you do exactly the same things, isn't it? You still sketch up ideas, you still do the
same
research.
Processes.
It's exactly the same.
You just use a different software when you get to the actual product. Instead of a 3D modeling software, you'll use Photoshop or whatever it is, you know.
So I think that you could certainly go down the graphic route and the UI UX route.
Yeah.
You could probably even just hire someone to do the logo for you. You design it and you just hire someone to do the final logo or something if you wanted to.
Yeah. I think that's actually what I might do for my website, to be honest with you. I tried to come up with a logo based on my initials, and I hate my initials in a logo, so I might pay someone to do a better job than me, to be honest, because I struggled. But I think that's very valid. Like, I know what it roughly wants to look like, I just can't get to do that because I don't have much experience in graphic design.
Speak to this guy.
Yeah, I mean, why not, mate? If you want to give it a go.
Well, I mean, you got to tell me what you want. But like, that's something that I've always been interested in, graphic design related stuff. I don't know, just interesting to me.
It is, it really is. Yeah. I mean, I got really inspired by watching all of the future videos on YouTube.
They do make you want to do it.
And how much they can get away with charging. And like, I always go, I'm in the wrong field, man. Like, I get paid so little, and these guys are charging 100 grand for a logo. Like, come on.
Yeah, that's mad.
I should change and become like a
charge 100 grand for
graphic
your
designer or something. Yeah. So I've always kind of considered it as well. It's weird, like a career switch quite late, but it's always been quite appealing for me. Like maybe trying out, and that will be one of my projects in the future of designing some logos or something and actually learning it.
Don't say
no,
that
I'm not
now.
committing to anything yet. I've got lots on my list before I even consider that. But it's something that I'd like to do. You know,
Nick. Sorry to cut across you, but something you said there is a career change this late. You've only been working like 4 years.
Yeah, I guess.
Plenty of time to work out what you enjoy,
and I suppose
what you don't
goes,
enjoy.
It goes directly against what they say in the future, so you can change your career whenever you want.
Yeah.
So whatever you enjoy. If you,
exactly. Yeah.
You're not stuck in designing products. If you want to design something else, you can do whatever you want. And that's the great thing about having a just design degree is it's
very flexible.
It is, yeah. Or there's a lot of transferable skills from one creative thing to another. So.
I mean, we had to learn Photoshop, and I know you don't you can use Illustrator most of the time you want a vector file or whatever, but I mean, all the tools are the same. Like if you know Photoshop, you could probably learn Illustrator very quickly, right?
Yeah, no.
And a lot of logos you don't even draw by hand. You use tools to like cut and manipulate the shape.
Yeah.
And then there's obviously illustrators who actually illustrate and sketch and draw, but.
That's a whole other ballpark.
Yeah,
that was the weird thing about our course is we used Photoshop in nearly everything. And I don't think there was ever a lecture that told us how to use it. I was kind of lucky that I'd use Photoshop a lot because I did photography A-level where I used it. I made YouTube thumbnails and graphics for my YouTube channels and friends' YouTube channels and stuff. So I'd done quite a lot of it. Then everyone was asking me questions about how it's all, how do you do this? How do you do that? All it took was one lecture to just tell us how to use it. It would have been great.
We were not told at all, and I vividly remember sat in the library and finding a cheat sheet for all the shortcuts on Photoshop, and that's how I taught myself. I literally sat there with a A4 page of every shortcut, being like, it's Control T to transform something. I see. And then you learn like that.
Some
That's
people use PowerPoint for their stuff, like.
Some their final presentations,
got an A0 what is it, A0 poster doing it on PowerPoint. Like, oh dear. You want to make sure everything's spaced out precisely, use PowerPoint. Work out that snapping tool or whatever the hell PowerPoint's
defense,
does.
It is quite powerful nowadays. Like, it's not a bad
tool.
You could probably do like a cracking job on it, but I mean,
Word
it's
art.
not as good as Photoshop.
No,
it's nothing on Photoshop.
A different level to Photoshop, yeah.
I mean, like the first time I used Photoshop properly was the end of first year when we had to make our portfolio pages from our toaster and stuff like that. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. Yeah. And that reflects very heavily on those posters. They weren't. It was hard. It was like, I want to move this. This is. What do you mean? Why can't I just move this? Like, this doesn't make any sense.
That's the one thing about Photoshop is it'd be so much easier if there was some kind of select. Where you drag your mouse square over the mouse and
some smart select.
You can just
smart select thing. Yeah. That's the only thing it's probably, unless the later versions have that. I don't have a later version.
You're Photoshop 1, aren't you?
It's called Rabbit.
My computer can't run it.
Or something weird.
It's Photoshop CS5. It's from like 2012 or something.
Shall we just mention again? Go back to Andy was basically saying how he has a job now that he's been doing for over 2 years.
4 years.
Over 4 years.
No. 3.5, almost 4.
To be fair, I was not incorrect with my first statement. It's definitely longer than 2 years.
It's longer than 2 years, yeah. We'll give you
that you literally had that job and it was only one unit was really relevant to you.
Yes.
And
one lecture.
Because me and Nick were both, or Nick not, well actually is currently, we're both doing jobs that are more or less like using a broad selection of skills that we learned from uni. And they're very relatable to our uni courses. But there's so many jobs that people do based on just their favourite subject. For example, we could have, me and Nick, in our second and final year, we had advanced material sciences. So we literally could go into doing stuff related to materials and stuff. And there's plenty of other units that other people may have really enjoyed that they have gone in to do exactly stuff related to that one unit. So you don't, just because you did a product design degree and stuff, like, it doesn't mean you need to do pure product design.
Very true.
Yeah, I mean, if you loved material science, it pays well, and it's really, really interesting, isn't it?
It was my favourite subject, which is very strange to say, like, when there's really creative thing, or strange for me to say that. I did this really creative course and engineering and all these things. My favourite one was just learning about metals and stuff. But it was really interesting. We had the best lecturer for that, which helps always. But
yeah, definitely.
It was my favourite subject. So I definitely could have gone into that, but... Obviously,
I really enjoyed sustainability as well. Actually, that was a really good,
so that's another one. You
unit.
can go into sustainable side of anything, really.
And it's kind of just like probably work with like governments and stuff of like the impact on this factory, on this town, and on the city and things like that. That was
one of the courseworks we did, wasn't it? It was actually just basically evaluating the impact certain things had on the environment, stuff like that, which is like you said, is its own career path in itself. So it's really worth noting that like when you're looking at a course as well, to like sort of pay attention to what sort of units are there, because that is actually a potential career, each unit, and not necessarily just everything as a like the average of everything. It's sort of anything really can go ahead and be
electromechanics.
what you want to do.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. Exactly.
Why you'd want to do that, I'm
Definitely
not
not
sure.
going into that. I memorised what I needed to memorise, got my 80 something, and that was it.
Got
Out the
of there,
door. Oh my god!
I feel like
wouldn't
as
remember it
well.
now.
Just to say you did really enjoy sustainability, and if you kind of knew that quite early on, if you wanted to, you could then almost tailor your projects during uni to focus on that as well,
Of course,
and then
sure, yeah.
that's going to help you later on as well, isn't it? Like
That's
if
what
you
the
are
dissertation
into-
is for, really, isn't it?
Yeah,
Definitely.
It's you know you're doing something you're interested in. Most people will choose their own projects. I think a lot more engineering side of people will choose one from the list that lecturers give you, but most
Floating
people choose
island.
their own. Yeah, I mean, if you want to do that, Nick, go ahead. But there's a lot of things like that. That's you just do what you want to design. Really, that's the whole point. You design something you want to design because you're going to do better doing that. So, like you said, if you're really interested in material science or sustainability, you could 100% tailor your dissertation to that. Then use that and the actual unit, and that's great. That's all you need from your uni work to get a job in that particular field. Like, one solid unit and then a massive thing on your dissertation. Like, that's definitely enough for you to get your first job in anything.
yeah, 100%.
So, yeah.
I probably would say if you're going to go down the sorry Andy, cutting you up. If you're going to go down material science, you probably will end up having to do like a master's or something, wouldn't you? Not necessarily,
I'm not
but
too sure, but I think you probably would want to specialise a little bit
yeah.
more. But that being said, you probably could get into some lab from... We did 3 years of that unit, and then if you did some sort of dissertation on analysing a material in a product or whatever, then I don't see why you couldn't, but
No,
you would definitely help to specialise further and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those things that that's something a lot of people don't think about when they're going into their dissertation stuff. They just go, I want to design this. I didn't think about it really, but I just like designing as a whole. But
it was really hard when they just go,
it was
that
a
you
really
can
hard
design
decision to
anything.
make.
Like, what do you mean? I
Yeah,
can
literally
design
anything.
But hindsight makes it a very easy decision. If you like this, you design that. You know, I mean,
Yeah,
that's just one of these
that's it.
things.
Because I wanted.
And we had the whole summer.
Well, yeah, we had the whole summer to decide, and I was kind of torn because I wanted to do something games related, video games, because obviously I'm a solid fan, and my mum was really ill at the time, so I decided to go with something that she said would help her. So that's what I went for, and it was good at the time because I had somebody who I could research
You
off,
had
basically.
You had like a target audience, and you had a persona and everything.
The persona and stuff, was already right there. Whereas I thought, I thought about how can I best do this now. Whereas thinking about it afterwards, it would be pretty good to have something games related, because I've kind of looked at jobs and like, I don't know, UIs of games and stuff. Just some kind of games related job. But that would have been a really good thing to have.
I didn't do it for undergrad. I designed a record player, but for my masters, I definitely chose to design a robotic arm because I thought getting a job in robotics would be really cool. I didn't end up getting a job in robotics, but who says I won't?
The option's still there
in the future.
Exactly.
I did the unit and I did a full dissertation on it, so that it's a lot more likely than if I didn't do those two things to get a job in it.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think like going on what you were saying, Andy, of like looking into games as well, and going back on kind of the American industrial design where it's a bit more arty a lot of the time. Like they use a lot of 3D modeling softwares like Blender and Maya and things like that, and that's still certainly something you could go down, isn't it? Like if you wanted to design assets for games, like just because I know we use parametric modeling, but you can still learn how to use these like more artistic 3D
definitely.
modeling packages, and you can still go down the route of becoming like a 3D artist if you wanted to, or creating assets for games, and there's still loads you can do in terms of going into that field. So if you want to, you still can.
I think that's something that's really good from our course. The sheer amount of different softwares that we have used or had to use for things, it definitely has made it a lot easier for us to learn new software. I don't know that because I said this before when I was talking about my uni degree when I did my masters. Every single coursework we had to use a different piece of software, and we use so many things at Portsmouth that I think it really just helped being able to pick these things up. You see how they all sort of work in similar ways, and I've then taught myself Blender after uni, and it's those things like that. Like it's something that we've sort of you've got used to already, just going through one of these technical degrees. Picking up new software to do a totally different sort of work shouldn't really be much of a problem, because you just understand how softwares are built, or at least how most of them function, and it's so I think that's a really good point, and it's really nice. Another thing that makes our course really quite versatile.
Yeah.
For that sort of stuff, like you don't just need to go pure design to do 3D modeling softwares. You can actually, it depends how you sell it in your CV and everything, but there's definitely a case to be made there.
Yeah, and also in kind of me and you, Harry, we did in product design innovation, we had to do a lot of market research and a lot of marketing for our products. We had a whole marketing unit, and we had to do quite in-depth market research, and you can certainly go down the marketing route as well if you wanted to, because you can go down the creative side if you wanted to.
Definitely marketing products I don't see.
Yeah.
We briefly spoke about this before, but it's literally every single unit we did where we designed a product, you have to do a presentation of that at the end, which at the end of the day, that is trying to sell the product to the lecturer, prove why it's good, what you've done with it. You're marketing the product. That's exactly what we did. So every single one of these projects we've done, you've got some practice in marketing. So but you do just need to think about how you can word sort of this sort of stuff in your CV to prove that it's like something that you're good at. Because if you just put in, I'm a product design person and this and that, they'll just be like, well, he's a product design person. But you could definitely, bring the points forward and then say, why you think this is actually suitable, make your case. Yeah, it's something. Marketing is definitely something you can go down. But like I said, it's a versatile course. It's just a general creative course based around products.
Would definitely be interesting to see where everyone's ended up.
I would like to know, to be honest. I bet you it's a lot broader than anyone would have bet when we're all at uni.
Oh yeah, 100%.
We'll say even within our group, there's quite a lot of diversity of where everyone's gone to.
Yeah, definitely.
I almost think you get quite. I know I did. Like a bit tunnel visioned when you first start. You're like, I'm going into product design. I'm going to be a product designer, and then as you I even feel like it hasn't happened until after I finished. I've actually started to realize that I don't have to do this. I can do other things if I want to, and I feel like certainly. So when I started uni, it was like you choose your degree, you have to do that one thing. It's like that's not the case at all, is it?
I feel like I'm sort of getting to that sort of stage. I love doing engineering and designing things in my own things for sure, but maybe I try at some point in the future doing something slightly different. I don't really know what exactly I might enjoy, but I'm getting to the stage where it's like, well, maybe I don't need to do pure design engineering like my masters said I was going to do. There's a lot of transferable skills that we can use to do all sorts, but it's finding that thing. But we're young. There's plenty of time for us to sort of shop about, as it were, I think.
definitely.
I'd like to
I do think that it's important to do personal projects, isn't it? Like if you just say, I did want to go down the graphic route, I need to have a portfolio of graphic projects, right? Still, to get a job. So
Yeah, I
if
definitely think
if you are interested in something, you do need to practice it, right? You need to
Yeah.
learn. You need to learn
definitely
it.
to
You
practice it. But also,
Yeah.
if you are going to do some sort of complete U-turn, like you was thinking, if I'm want to go into graphic design from product design, it's quite a big change. Well, then it's the perfect time for you to do some home projects and just do 3 or 4 projects in graphic design to see. Because if you find bits boring and you're doing it for yourself, in theory, none of that bit should be boring because it's your own personal project. And if you're finding it boring, then realistically, you might find it boring when you're doing it for a company that you don't care that much about.
The great thing about graphic design is there's always somebody that you're related to or somebody that you know that wants a logo, wants branding. There's always somebody that's thinking about a business, even if their business caves after a month because they just don't care. At least you've got that experience of making something for somebody else. Like,
scratch what I said. I think do it for friends. Do it actually for someone else.
Yeah, because then
in your free time,
you get the brief.
That's a lot better.
That's
a lot better.
Yeah. So like I've done a couple
learn on the job kind of.
for friends or family members. Family members. So it's just great. You just do the sketches and then you send them off to them as if it was to a client. They say, I like this one, I don't like this, can you incorporate this and this? And then it's really good. It's like the best of both because if you are just doing something for yourself, you don't have the constraints that you would if you actually were in that job. So I think it's a great learning experience. And everyone, trust me, everyone has somebody that wants some sort of branding.
Just got to ask about,
even if it's short-lived.
Yeah. I mean, they always say you can just go to your local cafe and be like, hey, I don't really like your menu. How about I design you a new menu? They're like, okay, sure.
That is the
you
other
got
thing.
Some balls on you,
Is you can just take websites that you don't like or logos that you don't like or menus that you don't like and just make it yourself for fun. That's like a personal project that you could do.
Or do it for yourself and then show them and say, how much do you want to pay me for this then?
That is it.
Sell you this.
You're in.
It does seem very like it's a very versatile industry kind of going into, because when I say graphic, I always think like graphic and UI UX, because I think the way I would go would be kind of merged. Maybe it'd be like user interface, user experience, but with graphic elements. I don't really know. I'm not sure.
Well,
but,
there's a very fine line, and it's a blurry line. If anything,
I feel like it is. I'm not entirely sure, but I just found, especially with talking about what I've been freelancing for a year now, and it just kind of, maybe I haven't found all the right people, but it just feels like people don't really value like designing a product very much, and it seems to be very apparent that like, oh, what do you mean, like you only want to charge this much for creating something from nothing. Whereas with a logo and like branding, it seems like you can charge a lot because it's kind of like the whole company identity almost, isn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's hard. It's really hard.
Yeah. There's so many more people that design logos as well. So it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
There is actually one other job that you could go into from our course, which is video editing. We had one lecture where, or a whole unit where we had a video at the end, and that's something that I've always been really interested in, and I think it definitely goes with branding. Maybe you wouldn't be the same person. Maybe it'd just be a company that would hire somebody to do graphic design for branding and then somebody to do the video for branding. But that's something that I've always been interested in. I've been video editing for a long time. But that's something that I actually thought about going into doing a video editing degree before product design. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Because those are two things that I really enjoyed. So That's another
There,
one.
there were some really good
Hidden
videos
one.
for that piece of coursework as well. Wasn't there?
It was
There's
group
some
work.
really
I
good
really
videos.
wish
Yeah.
because I didn't do any of the editing. I did the other stuff for the project.
did.
I think I did the
Yeah, I didn't do any
modelling,
editing either.
but I left it to someone else in my group. I did the modelling side of it.
I really
So-
hate that the one we did. It was edited by me. It was solid, but it wasn't funny. And apparently, people liked terrible editing that was funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember
Should have
was it
read the
Joel's
crowd.
project. I think it was Joel's that I loved. It was like the digger, wasn't it?
That-
because they made it
That
funny.
was a good video. Yeah.
It was hilarious.
That's so annoying.
so good.
I put so
Yeah.
much effort into ours,
Yeah.
but it
It
wasn't
was
funny.
like so epic, and it did like the most like
Just
the crappiest thing, but they made it epic, and it was just hilarious. It's so good.
yeah. No, they did a good job. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it
guess
was
I guess they read the crowd
Yeah.
a bit. You know. But oh well.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, you get loads of. Think how many people are on YouTube. All big YouTubers they don't edit themselves; they hire someone else to
Yeah,
do it.
they do nowadays.
And then-
yeah,
But
yeah.
they did
They're-
originally.
Well, yeah.
And if you look at,
They
I
edited
mean,
first, and then. Oh,
yeah,
I'd love to have someone edit videos for me.
yeah,
Well, while they're at it, they could film me do stuff as well. That would just be great.
And maybe star in it.
and just make the video for you.
Yeah, I'll just design the stuff. They'll do the rest. That's fine.
I mean, like even you look at any show on Netflix, everything on TV is edited, right? So, I mean,
Video
there's so much
editing
you
is
can
That's
do.
really
that's
great,
that's
yeah.
what
Yeah.
I thought about doing originally.
Yeah.
To, like, I mean, that's what happens when I watch these Netflix shows and stuff. I'm like, oh, that was some dank
That
editing.
edit.
That's
Like,
exactly
clean
what.
edit,
Or
yeah.
like you see some like really nice the color correction. You're like, whoo, that's some bold stuff. That's some like standout stuff. Like we watched the Mary Poppins Returns thing. And like the
colour
bold
grade on
colours,
that.
the colour grading was it was on point, and that's what I was loving about that film. It was just like
Yeah.
the
Oh,
kid's
dear.
coat or
hilarious.
whatever was like so colourful.
Like, damn.
Yeah,
Look at that
And I think
grey.
like,
that's what I
Pretty
like
weird,
about
like-
watching films now. It's so sad.
yeah, you never used to be a film guy as well, so that's great. I'm
Yeah,
glad.
it's good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So I think like the conclusion is you can do a lot, right? It's kind of
Conclusion is you can do whatever you like.
Yeah,
you
it's
you
basically
can do whatever you want, right?
basically you don't need to tunnel vision so much
Yeah.
after your degree. There's
Mhm.
so many things that you actually have so many skills for these different things in different industries that you may not think. And if you actually sit down and think about what actual things you learnt from each course, and what you took away from each unit, you know, you can actually do so much stuff with the things you've learned at university, and that's why university is good. And the argument for university is you learn so much more than you actually think you do, and it's all just sort of almost hidden. You don't really necessarily notice that you're learning these things because it's all built into some bigger topic with a different name. If that's, you know, for us we had all these different topic like names, but it's such a vague thing what that actually teaches you. But if you actually broke each one of those down, that each one of those could be a different job career in entirely. So that's something to sort of think about, and just have a little thing that you don't need to tunnel vision into exactly what your university title was. You can do so many other things with these skills that you've learned. So just sort of think about what you enjoy, and what you did well at or enjoyed at uni, and that could well answer what your career choice might want to be.
Yeah, and I guess if you, I see people do really like sneaker design, don't they, and car design and things like that.
At the moment,
I feel like, yeah, it's a hot. Whether I don't know if they do the sketches, but they don't actually design the shoe or know anything about the process. So I'm not sure if they'd actually enjoy the process of making a shoe, maybe, but I'm not sure. But
'cause you got to think of it as well. These sort of I don't know what we call it, the American industrial design of like the more art side of it. There's not actually that many roles for those in the sort of company. In each company there'll be a few people doing that, and then I think there's a lot more engineers working to make these things work behind the scenes. So
and
that
I feel,
might be quite competitive to do something like that.
I feel like a lot of the kind of American industrial designers that I like, they talk a lot about engineering. You know, they're really interested in how things are made. So even though they learn the art side, they
Their
still
social
have to
media
design things to be made, right?
Their social
Yeah.
media presence is probably very different to what their actual job is.
Yeah.
Which is another thing that we basically said about last week in the Instagram one. Was it last week? It was last week, I think.
What did we do last
Week before.
Was it the week before? Oh no, could well be.
Last week was the freelance.
week? Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm losing my mind, guys.
It's alright.
Get me out of COVID.
We've not been outside for 3 months. It's alright.
I haven't left this chair since we did the Instagram one. That's probably why I'm confused.
Yeah. It's all blended into one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like
Anyway.
that's the bombshell.
Yeah, I think
Join.
we've rambled on enough about what we wanted to ramble on about. Unless anyone else has any final comments, I think we can probably call it.
No, we're good.
Yeah. I feel like we've covered it quite well. I feel like we've talked on.
We definitely
talked in
covered it.
Depth.
We've
Yeah,
definitely
we've
covered it. Thank you everyone for watching,
Yeah,
listening,
thank you very
Even-
much for listening. Maybe watching.
possibly watching.
Yeah.
We have been the Great British Design Podcast.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.